Casemiro to go out on loan. The Brazilian transfer window is still open, and United are open to loaning out Casemiro if the majority of his wages are paid. Dean Huijsen to United. Leach is injured. It's very obvious we need a centre back. Ideally, maybe a left centre back that's a natural at defending the wide channels with Leach's injury. But if there's an opportunity for Dean Huijsen, who does have a release clause in the summer, then you can understand why United may be making their move for the centre back. There's been a few other transfer links. Rigg is definitely one to keep an eye on. We are a big fan of the player. But has United found their replacement for Dan Ashworth? There's talk of United bringing in a new sporting director, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens in regards to replacing Dan Ashworth, because when we get the new sporting director in, we'll probably have more insight in terms of what United want to do in the summer. There is a lot of transfer news today about what Man United wants to do in the summer. There's a lot of links, but I'm a bit sceptical about some of this transfer news, and I've put the more reliable stuff at the start, and then I'll show you the ones I'm more skeptical about at the end, because I think, is it a bit of guesswork? Why are we being linked to so many players from Sporting? Is this a bit of guesswork? Because if we're going to replace Ashworth and he's not in yet, then maybe we have ideas of who we like, Rigg, Huijsen, but we probably haven't got a full-on plan for our transfer window yet. But I'm going to talk about the transfer news. I'm going to talk about the Casemiro news, the Huijsen news, and sort of what United's plans are and who the sporting director may be, and also what Amorim said on plans. So, hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news roundup. I absolutely fluffed up a little bit of that intro, but let's get into all the United news. If you are new here, please do subscribe if you want to stay up to date with daily United content. I do live streams and videos, and feel free to hit the like button if you enjoy the video. So, it was said, coming out from reports, that Flamengo have made an approach to Manchester United to sign Casemiro. The Brazilian transfer window closes on February 28th. There's a possibility Casemiro could leave United because he got 1 minute at the end of our last game. He's getting pity minutes. He's not even playing in FA Cup games against Leicester. Ruben Amorim doesn't want him. He's on the bench. They're trying to force him out. They're annoyed that he didn't go in the January window. He's not part of Ruben Amorim's plans. Nothing personal. He doesn't play with the intensity that Ruben Amorim wants. And I think, like sort of Rashford, because he's on big wages, I do think that Ruben Amorim's probably had conversations with those at the top of the club, and there's probably a plan to force him out. Now, I think Casemiro is waiting for Saudi, and I think he's happy sitting on the Man United bench on those large wages, which is really, really annoying, but can you blame him? If he doesn't get that move to Saudi, which he's not got, which he thought he was going to get, is he going to stay at United in the summer, or is someone going to come in for Casemiro in the summer and pay his wages? Now, Man United are happy to loan out Casemiro if the majority of his wages are covered, and I think United want to get rid of Casemiro, but it just depends who out there is willing to cover Casemiro's wages. But I do think it's one to watch. I think the fact that Casemiro is barely even playing at the moment under Amorim is because maybe Amorim expects him to go, or thinks there's a possibility he could leave, this and that. And I think Casemiro himself will probably be open to an exit, considering the fact that he is just barely playing at the moment. So let's dive into the next story about a player that I'd want Man United to sign in Huijsen. In regards to the Huijsen news, it was said that Manchester United have trapped Bournemouth centre-back Dean Huijsen. Now, what a signing that would be. The only thing I have about it is I would say I don't know if he'd be a central centre-back or a wide centre-back in Amorim's system, and I worry like Euro where he could play wide centre-back, but his best position might be central centre-back, and I think we need a wide centre-back specialist in the system, especially with Leach injured. But Huijsen, Euro, Heaven, Kokonki, like the future of the centre-backs at United is bright. We've got Diego Leon, Dorgo. We get Quenda in, which looks quite likely, I think. It could be a really exciting young back line. And I want more young talent to come into United, but I also do want ready-made talent. And I think with Huijsen, he's done it in the Premier League. He's got that element of provency. I'd love us to get Huijsen, and I do like Quenda from what I've seen, but in attack we need experience. For me, I'm happy to go young at the back, but I think in attack, Cunha, Gyokeres, you need that kind of experience. I still think we maybe need a wide channel specialist, left-footed defender. But if Dean Huijsen's available on a good release clause and we can get him, we have to go for it. The thing is, I think a lot of people are going to be in for Dean Huijsen because apparently his release clause is around the 40 million mark. A lot of teams are going to be in for him, probably better than United, probably having a better season than United, so they could probably beat us to him. That's the only worry. But if you can get this guy, he's like Euro, he's an opportunity you can't miss. Huijsen and Euro in the same side, that would be unbelievable. And I think, we're going to get into the new sporting director news in a minute, but with the new sporting director having links to Athletic Bilbao, Spain, he could also be a big admirer of Huijsen. Another young player we're a big admirer of, and I think this is one to watch in the summer. I think, when we missed out on Bellingham, we don't want to miss out on the next big talent, and that's Chris Rigg. Man United are determined not to lose out on Chris Rigg, and their scouts consider him a must-have. Many sources keep linking us to Chris Rigg. Look, there's something in there. Joe Bello and Chris Rigg, Hayden Hackney, we're looking at them all, but we've been consistently linked to Chris Rigg for a while. It looks like we do have interest in this player. I think the big question among United is they didn't move for Naipan in the end, despite having big interest in Naipan, because they were like, we can't afford to spend money on a youngster. We need ready-made players. Is that what they're going to do with Rigg? I think for the front three, they need ready-made players. I think for other positions, maybe they're happy to go younger. I still think we should go for Gyokeres in the summer, because Dorgu can play left wing back and right wing back. Shaw and Malacia should both leave. I think we should go for Gyokeres in the summer. And I also think we should look at a centre back in the summer. If you can't get Huijsen, maybe a wide left centre back specialist. Hinkley, Schlotterbeck, if we could get them. Midfield, I do look at someone like Edison and think that he would just be good for the midfield, but Chris Rigg has great potential. But in the attack, you got to go with experience. But let's talk about the new sporting director. Manchester United are interested in Athletic Bilbao sporting director Mikel Gonzalez to replace Ashworth. Now, nothing's going on, but we've been linked to this guy before. This guy and obviously the Atletico Madrid sporting director have been linked to United as a potential replacement for Dan Ashworth. Now, I don't know loads about Athletic Bilbao sporting director Mikel Gonzalez, other than the fact that he likes this sort of youth-focused project. He likes to also do things as part of his job, like focus on injury preventions, and he's organised some quite smart loans. But I'd have to do more research on him if he was, the Manchester United sporting director. Of course, I'd have to do more research on what he can bring and tell you my thoughts on him. I still am annoyed about the whole Dan Ashworth situation. I don't think it was the right decision to sack him. I get that he didn't agree with those at Ineos, but Ineos are making mistakes. So can you blame him for not agreeing with Ineos? But we're not here to talk about Dan Ashworth. We're here to talk about his potential replacement. And I think Mikel Gonzalez is one to watch, because this isn't the first time we've been linked to him as well. And apparently it's a decent source coming out from Spain saying that. Now, talking of decent sources, for Chase Football isn't a very good source, but I wanted to include this in today's video because it links to other news I'm going to get into, and I can just clarify that it's not a very good source of information. They say that Sporting wants 67 million for Ousmane Diomande, and United and Chelsea are interested. I can understand Chelsea being interested. He's a young player. Chelsea love their young players, but he's a defender, and Chelsea do need a right centre-back because of Fofana's injuries. Diomande wants to work with Amorim again, but Manchester United are reluctant to spend that much on defender. I don't want to spend really more than 45 million on a centre-back in the summer. I think we can 45 million on the centre-back, 45 million on the midfielder, 35 million on a wing-back, and then the rest of the money goes on the two attacking positions, and hoping that we actually raise a bit of money through sales. Diamande's maybe one to watch, but I think he's a bit overrated. I've watched a few games of him and thought, wow, he's good. But I actually watched him in the Champions League and was like, yeah, because you only see the good games he plays in, you actually realize, he's still very raw. But I do like Diomande as a player. It could be one to watch. I think a lot of the Sporting players are one to watch, because it was also said that United officials are present at Sporting's game against Porto on Friday to watch Quenda. I think out of all the Sporting players, Quenda's the most likely, with Whitwell, Ornstein, and I think was Romano linked us to the player, and United will evaluate him. I think this is one to watch. Quenda. I think Diomande. To be honest, I don't think we get Diomande. I think we get Quenda, and I think if we had to get another player, I think it would be Gyokeres. And apparently we have Gyokeres on our list. That has come from Ekram Konar, who's linked us to about 100 players in the last 3 days, so his credibility isn't right there at the top, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gyokeres is on that list, either as Ostenham or other top players there. But what I was saying at the beginning of the video is a lot of journalists keep just linking us to Sporting players, and I think that's because they don't have any clue what we're going to do, because I actually don't think we sign more than one player from Sporting. I think that they want to move away from doing that, because that's what they did under Ten Hag. And I just think journalists are continuously linked to Sporting players because we need to write something. I think if we're going to sign a Sporting player, it's going to be Quenda. I think Gyokeres, there's talk of him wanting the move, but who knows? And I think, there'll be a few surprises in the window. And I think a lot of the transfer news at the moment is guesswork. But look, we do have interest in Chris Rigg. We have for a while. Casemiro has interest in terms of other clubs looking at him for a potential exit. We all know that. Anyway, last but not least, this is what Ruben Amorim said. He said, I cannot focus on saving the season with the momentum of the FA Cup. That's not the way I see football. It's not the way I see United. It's everything. It's about the performance. It's the result. I'm not thinking about the end of the season. So he's basically saying I'm the opposite of Ten Hag. Winning the FA Cup doesn't save my season. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking on the season and how to improve this now. That's not what I see as saving the season, which Ten Hag saw as saving the season. So you can see a big difference in their mentality. But I think we need to play in Europe next season if we're going to be able to attract players and have that money and to spend a bit more. Winning the FA Cup gets Europa League. Ideally, we win the Europa League and get Champions League, but we're more likely to be competitive in the Europa League. But anyway, that is all your Man United news rounded up into a 10-minute video. I was falling asleep a little bit at the end here, so I hope everything I said in today's video makes sense. But we're talking about Casemiro, transfers coming in, a new sporting director, and more. If any breaking news comes out, then I will do another video. If not, I will see you guys live tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Bye.